Right now, as you're listening to these words, you possess the most powerful creative force in the universe, and most people never realize it exists. This force has shaped every great achievement in human history, built every empire, created every masterpiece, and solved every problem that seemed impossible. Yet it sits dormant in most minds, waiting to be awakened and unleashed upon the world. What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory or philosophy. It's a practical system that will fundamentally change how you approach every desire, every goal, and every dream you've ever held. The power I'm speaking of is your imagination, and today you're going to discover how to harness it to create the life you've always wanted. Most people live their entire lives completely unaware of the creative power that lies dormant within their imagination. They bow before the harsh dictates of their current circumstances, accepting life based solely on what they can see and touch in the world around them. They become prisoners of their present reality, never realizing they hold the master key to unlimited possibilities. But when you truly discover this creative power within yourself, when you understand how to wield it with precision and purpose, you will boldly assert the supremacy of imagination over every limitation that has ever held you back. You will put all things in subjection to your creative vision, transforming not just your circumstances, but your entire destiny. Here's what most people don't understand. When we speak of the divine creative force within human beings, we're talking about nothing other than your imagination. This is the creative power that shapes reality itself. There is absolutely nothing under heaven that isn't as malleable as potter's clay to the touch of your focused, purposeful imagination. Let me share a story that will illustrate just how powerful this force truly is, and why you should never doubt its ability to transform your life completely. I once knew a man who loved to listen to teachings about imagination, but whenever he heard these concepts, he would nervously touch his chair with his fingers and push his feet firmly into the rug beneath him, desperately trying to keep his sense of physical reality intact. He was afraid to let go of what he could see and feel, afraid to trust in the invisible power of his creative mind. But let me tell you about someone who didn't need to touch anything to keep herself grounded. Someone who trusted completely in the power of her imagination, and witnessed it transform her life in the most extraordinary way. She was just 17 years old, and it was Christmas Eve. Her heart was heavy with grief, because earlier that year, she had lost her father in a tragic accident. Now she was returning home to what felt like an empty house, working as a waitress because she had no other training or skills to fall back on. On this particular night, it was quite late, and rain was falling steadily as she rode the streetcar home. The car was filled with laughing young people returning from their Christmas vacations, their joy only emphasizing her loneliness and despair. Tears began streaming down her face, but fortunately the rain provided perfect cover for her sorrow. Then something remarkable happened. Instead of surrendering to her circumstances, this young woman made a conscious decision to use her imagination to transform her reality. As she held onto the rail of that streetcar, feeling the motion and hearing the sounds around her, she closed her eyes and made a powerful declaration. This is not rain falling on my face. This is spray from the ocean, carried by the sea breeze. This salty taste I'm experiencing isn't from my tears of sadness. It's the salt of the sea in the wind. And this isn't a streetcar traveling through San Diego. This is a ship, and I'm approaching the beautiful Bay of Samoa. She didn't just think these thoughts casually. She felt them with every fiber of her being. She gave her imagination complete sensory vividness, making the experience so real that she could actually feel herself on that ship, approaching that distant shore. She maintained this powerful visualization until the streetcar journey ended, and she had to return to her physical reality. Here's where the story becomes truly extraordinary, and why you should pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you. Just 10 days after this imaginative experience, this young woman received a letter from a law firm in Chicago. The letter informed her that several years earlier, when her aunt had sailed for Europe, she had deposited $3,000 with specific instructions if she did not return to America. This money should be paid to her niece. The firm had just received confirmation of the aunt's death and were now acting upon her instructions, sending this young woman enough money to completely change her circumstances. 1 month later, exactly 1 month after her imaginative journey on that rainy streetcar, this young woman found herself on an actual ship sailing toward Samoa. As she came into the bay late that night, there was indeed salt of the sea in the wind. It wasn't raining, but there was spray in the air, and she experienced the exact same sensations she had imagined just weeks before, only this time, she had realized her objective in physical reality. This story illustrates a profound technique that I want to teach you today. A method for putting your wonderful imagination directly into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, allowing it to remain there while you fall asleep in that state of accomplishment. I can promise you from my own extensive experience that if you can actually feel yourself living in the reality of your fulfilled desire, and if you continue in that feeling until you fall asleep, you will inevitably realize that state in your physical world. The process works like this. You must feel yourself completely into the situation of your fulfilled desire, remaining there until you give it all the tones of reality, until you provide it with all the sensory vividness that you're capable of generating. As you maintain this state and quietly fall into sleep, you set in motion forces that will move you across a series of events, leading you toward the objective realization of your desired state. You could never consciously devise the means that will be employed to bring your vision into reality, but that's not your job. Your job is simply to feel the reality of your fulfilled desire with such intensity that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. And here is the practical technique that will transform your life, if you apply it consistently and with complete faith in its power. First, you must know exactly what you want in this world. Clarity is absolutely essential. Vague desires produce vague results, but crystal clear intentions, backed by emotional intensity, create miraculous transformations. Once you know exactly what you want, create as lifelike a representation as possible of what you would see, what you would touch, and what you would do if you were already living in that desired state. For example, suppose you wanted a beautiful home, but currently had no money to purchase one. Instead of focusing on your current limitations, you would create a detailed mental image of the exact home you desire, complete with all the furnishings and features that would bring you joy. Then, each night as you prepare for sleep, you would enter a drowsy, relaxed state that borders upon sleep. In this receptive condition, you would imagine that you are actually living in that house. You would mentally step off your current bed and onto the floor of your dream home. You would move from room to room, touching the furniture and feeling it to be solidly real under your hands. While you are touching and experiencing this imaginary house with complete sensory involvement, you would allow yourself to drift into natural sleep, maintaining the feeling of actually being there until consciousness fades into slumber. This same technique can be applied to achieve success in any area of your life. If you desired a promotion in your career, you would ask yourself what additional responsibilities would be yours if you received this advancement. What would you do differently? What would you say? How would you act? What would others say to you? Then, in your imagination, you would begin to see, touch, and act exactly as you would if you already held that position. You would give yourself the full sensory experience of living in that elevated state until it becomes completely real to your subconscious mind. If you were seeking your ideal romantic partner, you would imagine yourself already in that loving relationship. You would feel the reality of being loved and cherished, perhaps even imagining yourself wearing a wedding ring, if marriage is your goal. You would touch that imaginary ring repeatedly, feeling its weight and texture until it seems completely real to your senses. The key is to maintain these imagined experiences until they arouse within you the exact feelings you would have if they were already your reality. Then you sleep in that state of fulfillment, allowing your subconscious mind to work out the details of manifestation. This technique has been taught throughout history by the world's greatest spiritual teachers, though it was often presented in symbolic form that many people misunderstood as mere historical accounts. The secret lies in centering your imagination completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled and remaining there with unwavering faith. Your capacity to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled is directly proportional to your capacity to live the more abundant life that is your birthright. Most people are afraid to imagine themselves as important, noble, and successful individuals who make significant contributions to the world. This fear exists because the moment we begin to assume a greater version of ourselves, our logical mind and physical senses immediately deny the truth of our assumption. We feel gripped by an unconscious urge that makes us cling desperately to the familiar world of our current limitations, resisting everything that threatens to tear us away from our seemingly safe but ultimately restrictive circumstances. Here's a crucial distinction that will determine your success or failure with this method. There is a vast difference between thinking of what you want and thinking from what you want. When you think of your desires, you remain in your current state, looking at your goals as distant possibilities. But when you think from your desires, when you assume the feeling of already having them, you occupy that state mentally and emotionally, making it your current reality in consciousness. Imagination puts you in touch with a world of infinite states and possibilities. These states are not mere fantasies. They are real, existing potentials that become overpoweringly real when you think from them and dwell within them consistently. Let me share a personal experience that will demonstrate the incredible power of this technique when applied with complete faith and persistence. In 1933, while living in New York City, an old friend taught me this principle by referencing a passage from Scripture. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. He explained that these mansions were not physical buildings in some distant heaven, but rather the states of consciousness we can occupy through imagination. He told me that if I would make a living representation of any desired state, and then enter that state and abide in it, I would inevitably realize it in my physical experience. At that time, I wanted to make a trip to the island of Barbados in the West Indies, but I had no money for such a journey. Following his instruction, each night as I fell asleep in my New York apartment, I assumed that I was sleeping in my father's house in Barbados. For 1 full month, night after night, I maintained this assumption as I drifted into sleep. At the end of that month, I received an invitation from my family, inviting me to spend the winter in Barbados. I sailed for Barbados in early December of that year, and from that moment forward, I knew I had discovered the most powerful creative force within myself. Here's an advanced technique that will accelerate your progress and help you overcome past disappointments and setbacks. I call it the art of revision, and it's something you should practice daily. Each night before sleep, instead of simply reviewing your day and accepting everything that happened as final, you should mentally revise the day's events to conform to your ideals. If you receive disappointing news, revise that news mentally and imagine receiving the information you wished you had gotten instead. If you didn't receive a letter or call you were hoping for, imagine that you did receive it and feel the satisfaction of that positive communication. If you had a difficult conversation with someone, replay that conversation in your mind with a completely different, more positive outcome. Let me share a remarkable example of how this revision technique worked for one woman who heard me speak about these principles. This lady had been ordered out of her daughter-in-law's home 2 years earlier, and there had been no communication between them since. She had sent her grandson at least 24 presents during this time, but not one had ever been acknowledged. After learning about revision, she decided to take action. Each night as she prepared for sleep, she mentally constructed 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from her daughter-in-law. In these imaginary letters, both expressed deep affection for her and wondered why she hadn't visited them. For 7 consecutive nights, she held these imaginary letters in her mind, reading them over and over until they aroused within her the complete satisfaction of having actually received such communications. Then she would fall asleep in that state of fulfillment. On the 8th day, she received an actual letter from her daughter-in-law. Inside that envelope were 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from the daughter-in-law. These real letters practically duplicated word for word the imaginary letters she had been reading to herself for the previous week. This art of revision and creative imagination can be powerfully applied to matters of health and healing. If you're dealing with illness or injury, bring before your mind's eye the image of a trusted friend or family member. Put upon their face an expression that implies they see you as completely healthy and vibrant. Imagine them saying to you that they've never seen you look better, and hear yourself replying with complete conviction, "I have never felt better." If you have a specific physical issue, construct a mental drama that implies you are doing all the activities you would do if that condition were completely healed. Repeat this imaginative exercise over and over until it takes on the complete tones of reality in your mind. Whatever you repeatedly do in your imagination, you will eventually do in your outer world. This is not wishful thinking. This is a precise psychological and spiritual law. The one essential requirement for success with this method is to arouse your attention in such a way and to such intensity that you become wholly absorbed in your revised or desired reality. When you achieve this level of mental and emotional involvement, you will experience an expansion and refinement of your senses through this imaginative exercise. Eventually, you will achieve clear vision in the inner world of imagination, and this inner vision will inevitably manifest as outer experience. The abundant life that has been promised to humanity is yours to enjoy right now, but only when you recognize and utilize the creative power of your imagination. Persistent imagination, centered completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, is the secret of all successful operations. This alone is the means of fulfilling every intention and realizing every dream. Every stage of human progress is made possible by the conscious, voluntary exercise of imagination. This is why all great poets and visionaries throughout history have emphasized the supreme importance of controlled, vivid imagination. As the great William Blake wrote, "In your own bosom you bear your heaven and earth, and all you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow." The time has come for you to test this power for yourself. Choose one specific desire that matters deeply to you, something that would genuinely improve your life and bring you lasting happiness. Create a clear, detailed mental image of yourself already living in the reality of that fulfilled desire. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, assume the feeling of already having this desire completely realized. Maintain that assumption with sensory vividness until you drift into natural sleep. Continue this practice night after night with unwavering faith and persistence. I can promise you this, if you apply this technique with consistency and complete belief in its power, you will prove to yourself that your imagination is indeed the creator of your reality. You will join the ranks of those who have discovered humanity's greatest secret, that we are all equipped with the divine power to consciously create our lives through the proper use of imagination. The question is not whether this power exists, it does. The question is whether you will have the courage and persistence to use it. Your future is waiting for you to create it. The time to begin is now. Imagine for a moment that every challenge you face, every obstacle in your path, every single moment of doubt or uncertainty is actually an opportunity for growth. Within you exists a wellspring of incredible power, a force that, when truly tapped into, can transform your reality and guide you toward your highest potential. This force isn't external. It doesn't come from material possessions or anything you can physically touch. It emerges from within the moment you genuinely believe that everything, absolutely everything, always works out for your highest good. We've all heard that our beliefs shape our reality. But have you ever fully embraced the idea that everything always works out for you? Not just when life feels easy and the sun is shining, but especially during those stormy days when doubt and fear try to knock you off course. What if you lived as if, despite appearances, and despite any chaos surrounding you, the universe is always conspiring in your favor? I found in my own life that it's relatively simple to believe when things are flowing smoothly, when we're seeing the results we want, and everything feels aligned. But the true magic happens when we maintain that belief, even when we can't yet see the outcome. When circumstances don't reflect our desires, this is where transformation begins. Picture yourself standing before a doorway to everything you've ever dreamed of. You can see it clearly in your mind. You know that behind that door is the life you've imagined for yourself. In my experience, most people will stand before that door shaking their heads, wondering if they'll ever get in. They might complain about the locked door, perhaps even deciding it wasn't meant for them. Here's what I've discovered, though. The door was never actually locked. It only appears that way because you haven't yet found the key. And that key is your unwavering belief. The absolute assumption that everything always works out for you, even when you can't see how. When I truly embraced this mindset in my own life, things began to shift. When you genuinely believe that what you desire is already on its way, your thoughts and actions naturally align with that belief. You begin to act as if your desire is already yours. And when you do this, something remarkable happens. The universe begins to rearrange itself to bring that desire into your experience. We tend to think of time as linear, don't we? A beginning, middle, and end. We believe events must unfold in a specific sequence. But what if time, as we understand it, is just an illusion? What if the future you desire already exists right now, simply waiting for you to step into it? I've come to believe that everything meant for you is already in motion. By holding the conviction that everything always works out for you, you align with the energy of possibility, bringing your desires into the present moment. Think about how we navigate daily life. The ups and downs, challenges and victories, moments of confusion balanced with moments of clarity. I've learned to see all these experiences as pieces of a grand puzzle, perfectly designed to fit together. What appears as confusion today might actually be the stepping stone guiding you toward tomorrow's clarity. Every twist, every turn, every seemingly wrong step could be directing you precisely where you need to be. Our challenge comes when we view life through a lens of limitation, seeing our current circumstances as permanent or as a reflection of what's possible. In truth, your current state merely reflects your past thoughts. The moment you shift those thoughts, your reality begins to transform with them. How do you feel when you truly trust that everything always works out for you? When you no longer worry about outcomes? When you assume that regardless of circumstances, things are working in your favor? I've experienced a profound lightness and peace when I stop fighting against life's current and instead surrender to it. There's freedom in knowing that everything is working out, even when it's not yet visible. This peace comes from understanding that you're not separate from life's flow. You're an integral part of it, and it's always moving in your direction. Of course, we can't simply sit back passively waiting for things to happen. We must take action. But there's a crucial difference between action driven by fear and action inspired by trust. When you hold the belief that everything always works out for you, the action you take isn't clouded by doubt or anxiety. It's filled with confidence. You move forward knowing your steps are guided, that your efforts matter, and that you're moving in the right direction, even when results haven't yet materialized. Think about the great achievers throughout history. They didn't wait for perfect conditions before taking action. They moved forward as if everything would work out for them. And because of that belief, they created what seemed impossible. Every success story I've encountered is fundamentally about someone who believed in possibilities beyond current circumstances, who knew they were worthy of their desires, and trusted that despite any odds, everything would work out for them. The moment you decide that everything always works out for you, life becomes easier. That door to your desires is no longer locked. It's wide open. You're simply walking through it, moment by moment, knowing each step brings you closer to the life you've imagined. You begin to see obstacles differently, not as barriers, but as opportunities to grow, to learn something valuable, and to evolve into your highest potential. So I ask you, what would your life look like if you truly believed everything always works out for you? What if you released fear, doubt, and the need to control every outcome? What if you trusted that everything you need is already on its way, that the universe is actively conspiring in your favor, that life is moving toward your good even when it's invisible to you? When you adopt this belief, you step into your authentic power. You align with life's natural flow and realize you're not just observing your reality, you're actively creating it. The challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties become part of the perfect plan unfolding step by step. Truly acting as if everything works out requires deep faith. Not passive hope, but active, confident trust in your ability to navigate whatever arises. Faith means knowing without doubt that regardless of external circumstances, you can handle whatever comes your way. It's believing that even during uncertainty, the right people, opportunities, and circumstances are being drawn to you, and every experience guides you towards something better. In my own moments of doubt, I found that faith gives me strength to move forward even when I can't see the path ahead. It empowers me to take bold action, not because I have all the answers, but because I trust the answers will emerge when needed. Another powerful aspect of this mindset is recognizing you're never truly alone. When you act as if everything works out for you, you begin to notice the synchronicities and serendipities surrounding you, the whispers of guidance, the signs, and moments when the universe seems to conspire to bring exactly what you need. These aren't coincidences. They result from your alignment with the belief that everything is working in your favor. As you maintain this belief, you'll see how people, events, and opportunities appear at precisely the right time. I've experienced this repeatedly in my own life. Conversations with strangers that led to unexpected opportunities, sudden inspirations that solved problems I've been struggling with, chance encounters that changed my path completely. Life is constantly supporting us, if only we have eyes to see it. This mindset doesn't mean life will always be smooth sailing. There will still be difficult moments when things don't go as planned and uncertainty looms. But when you act as if everything always works out for you, you respond to these moments differently. Instead of seeing challenges as setbacks, you recognize them as opportunities to strengthen your faith, to trust more deeply, and to align more fully with your desires. You stop worrying about outcomes and begin enjoying the process, knowing you're always moving towards something greater. The beauty of this mindset is that it doesn't just change how you experience the world. It shifts the very energy you radiate into it. When you genuinely believe everything works out for you, your presence becomes magnetic. People, situations, and opportunities aligned with your energy naturally gravitate toward you. This isn't coincidence. It's the direct result of the belief you've adopted. You begin moving through life with calm confidence, which effortlessly attracts what you need. The shift might be subtle at first, but as you embrace this idea more fully, you'll notice the fog clearing. Where you once saw challenges, you'll see opportunities. Where you once saw problems, you'll find solutions. Even amid uncertainty, you'll remain grounded in knowing everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Think about the last time something didn't go as planned. Did you remain stuck in frustration? Or did you choose to trust that something greater was unfolding? I found that the key to turning every challenge into a stepping stone is adopting the mindset that no matter what, everything is working out for you. Even when things seem to fall apart, they're often falling together in ways we can't yet understand. Reflect on times in your life when something that initially felt like a setback became a blessing. Perhaps losing a job led to a better opportunity, or a relationship ending created space for a healthier partnership. Each experience was an invitation to grow and to understand that everything works out, often in ways beyond our current comprehension. As you embrace the belief that everything always works out for you, you'll begin making decisions from a place of inspiration rather than fear. You'll trust yourself more deeply and have confidence that your choices align with your highest good. Even when things don't immediately unfold as expected, you'll remain steadfast in knowing they're leading somewhere even better. Like planting a seed, you don't dig it up daily to check if it's growing. You nurture it and trust that in time it will flourish. Your trust is the water, your faith the sunshine, your actions the nurturing hands, helping the seed grow. One day you'll look up to find the life you once dreamed of standing right before you. There's profound peace in understanding that everything always works out for you. The need to worry about the future dissolves as you live fully present, knowing the future is already unfolding in your favor. Each moment becomes an opportunity to reinforce your belief and witness life working for you rather than against you. You no longer feel victimized by circumstances or give power to things beyond your control. Instead, you step into your role as a conscious creator, shaping reality not through force, but through belief. The universe responds to this belief and begins shifting in ways beyond imagination. One of the most liberating aspects of this mindset is releasing the need for external validation. When you believe everything works out for you, you're no longer dependent on others' approval. Your inner knowing becomes your guide, and you trust that the right people and opportunities will appear at the perfect time. As you align with this belief, you recognize your inherent worth and the unique gifts you bring to the world. You no longer seek validation outside yourself because you know everything you need already exists within. This is the key to living in true abundance. Not just material wealth, but an abundance of peace, joy, love, and fulfillment. It's knowing that regardless of what happens, everything is working out perfectly. You are abundant because you're connected to the infinite source of all that is good. When you live from this place of knowing, the universe naturally reflects that abundance back to you. There's a quiet whisper within you. Perhaps you've heard it in moments of stillness, when the noise of the world fades away. It's the voice that reminds you of who you truly are, beyond your fears, beyond your doubts, beyond the stories you've told yourself about limitation. This voice knows something profound. You were never meant to struggle through life. You were meant to dance with it. When you embrace the belief that everything always works out for you, you're not just adopting a positive mindset. You're remembering a truth that lives in the very fabric of your being. You're reconnecting with the part of yourself that came into this world, knowing you belong here, knowing you matter, knowing you're worthy of every beautiful thing your heart desires. Consider your life as a garden. Every experience, every challenge, every moment of joy is like a seed planted in the soil of your becoming. Some seeds sprout quickly, showing you immediate blooms of success and happiness. Others remain hidden beneath the surface, germinating slowly, building strong roots that will one day support the most magnificent flowers you've ever seen. The gardener who trusts the process doesn't panic when winter comes. They don't dig up the bulbs when spring seems delayed. They understand that nature has its own perfect timing, its own divine intelligence. And so do you. Your dreams aren't just wishful thinking scattered into the wind. They're carefully planted intentions in the garden of your soul, tended by a universe that knows exactly when the season is right for their blooming. Perhaps you felt broken before. Perhaps there have been moments when you wondered if you had the strength to continue, when the weight of disappointment felt heavier than hope itself. In those moments, remember this: every ending is also a beginning. Every sunset promises a sunrise. Every winter gives way to spring. The courage to begin again isn't about forgetting the past or pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about choosing to see each new day as a blank page in your story. When you believe everything works out for you, you give yourself permission to write that story with bold strokes of faith, with colors of possibility you've never dared to use before. Remember this: you aren't a passive observer of your life. You're its creator, architect, and author. The moment you choose to act as if everything always works out for you, you begin writing your story with confidence, joy, and unwavering trust. You recognize you're always in the right place at the right time, and everything, even difficult moments, is guiding you toward your highest good. The power is in your hands. The choice is yours. When you embrace the truth that everything always works out for you, you unlock a life of limitless possibility, where every dream in your heart is already becoming your reality. And your transformation doesn't happen in isolation. When you begin to live as if everything works out for you, you become a beacon of possibility for others. Your peace becomes contagious. Your confidence inspires. Your joy reminds others of their own forgotten dreams. You become living proof that there's another way to move through this world, not with clenched fists and worried hearts, but with open palms and trusting spirits. In choosing to believe in your own bright future, you give others permission to believe in theirs. This is the beautiful ripple effect of authentic faith. It spreads from heart to heart, lighting up the world one soul at a time. I invite you today to make this choice, a choice that will transform everything. Choose to believe, without doubt, that everything always works out for you. Walk through life with unwavering conviction that regardless of challenges or obstacles, they're merely part of the journey guiding you to your highest good. This is your sacred yes to life, your declaration that you trust the process, even when you can't see the destination. Your commitment to showing up fully, knowing that your presence matters, that your dreams matter, that you matter. When you act as if everything works out for you, you align with a force greater than anything this world can offer. You tap into limitless power within and create a life defined not by circumstances, but by your belief in what's possible. You are the creator of your reality. Your beliefs, mindset, and actions shape the world around you. The moment you decide everything works out for you, you unlock transformative power. The universe begins conspiring in your favor, and you'll discover that nothing is truly impossible. Let go of doubt. Release fear. Choose to live with confidence and trust. Know in your heart that everything is always working out for you, and watch miracles unfold in ways beyond imagination. Your time is now. Not when you're more prepared, not when circumstances are perfect, not when fear stops whispering in your ear. Now, this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. This is when your new story begins. Step forward, act as if, and watch how the world responds with open arms, ready to support the magnificent being you're becoming. The life you desire isn't just possible, it's already on its way. It's time to believe it, embrace it, and welcome it into your experience, with the joy of someone who finally remembers they were always meant to live beautifully.
Close your eyes for a moment and try to touch tomorrow. Reach out with your hands and grasp next week. Open your mouth and taste next year. You cannot, can you? Because tomorrow doesn't exist. Next week is nowhere to be found. Next year is a phantom, a mirage, a complete and utter illusion. My dear friends, tonight, I'm going to tell you something that will either liberate you completely or disturb you so profoundly that you'll question everything you think you know about time, planning, and hope itself. Tonight, I want to reveal to you one of the most radical truths in all of existence. There is no future. Not the future is uncertain. Not the future is hard to predict. I'm telling you that the future, as you understand it, simply does not exist. It never has existed. It never will exist. It is the greatest illusion ever perpetuated upon the human mind. And this illusion is the source of nearly all human suffering, anxiety, and limitation. The revelation of this truth came to me in the most unexpected way. A woman approached me after a lecture last month, her face etched with worry and desperation. She said, "Neville, I'm terrified about my future. What if I never find love? What if I never have enough money? What if my health fails? What if my children suffer? I can't stop thinking about all the terrible things that might happen." I looked at this tormented soul, and I realized she was suffering from the most common disease of consciousness, future addiction. She was living in a dimension that doesn't exist, worrying about events that haven't happened, fearing possibilities that have no substance, planning for a time that will never come. I said to her, "My dear woman, you are afraid of nothing. You are worried about nowhere. You are planning for never. The future you fear does not exist anywhere except in your imagination. And even there it exists only as a present moment experience of imagining." She stared at me in confusion. "But Neville, surely I need to plan for the future. Surely I need to prepare for what's coming. How can you say there is no future?" "Because," I replied, "there is only now. There has always been only now. There will always be only now. What you call the future is simply now experienced differently. What you call planning for tomorrow is simply now imagining tomorrow. What you call worrying about next year is simply now creating anxiety about imaginary events." This woman was like most of humanity, trapped in the illusion of linear time, believing that somewhere out there in some mystical dimension called the future, events are waiting to happen to her. She didn't realize that she was creating her entire experience of future right now in this eternal present moment. I taught her something that changed her life forever. There is no future to worry about because there is no future to experience. There is only now, and in this now she could choose to experience peace instead of anxiety, love instead of fear, abundance instead of lack. But let me be very clear about what I mean when I say there is no future. I don't mean that change doesn't happen. I don't mean that what you experience tomorrow will be identical to what you experience today. I mean that when tomorrow comes, it won't be the future. It will be now. It will be the eternal present moment experienced with whatever consciousness you bring to it. Think about this carefully. Have you ever experienced the future? Every experience you've ever had happened in the present moment. Every joy, every sorrow, every triumph, every challenge, all occurred in the now. Even your memories of the past are present moment experiences. Even your imaginings of the future are present moment activities. The future is not a place you're going to. The future is not a time you will eventually reach. The future is a present moment, mental activity, the activity of imagining, planning, worrying, or anticipating. And since imagination is a present moment experience, the future exists only in the eternal now. This is why Jesus could say, "Take no thought for tomorrow, for tomorrow will take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof." He wasn't advocating irresponsibility. He was revealing the illusion of tomorrow as a separate dimension of experience. When tomorrow comes, it comes as today. When the future arrives, it arrives as the present. When next year gets here, it gets here as now. There is no escape from the eternal present, no matter how far into the future you project your consciousness. Let me tell you about a man who discovered this truth in the most practical way possible. He came to me consumed with anxiety about his retirement. He said, "Neville, I'm terrified about my future. What if I don't have enough money saved? What if my health fails? What if I can't afford medical care? What if I become a burden to my children? I can't sleep at night thinking about these possibilities." I said to him, "My friend, you are not afraid of retirement. You are afraid of a mental construction that you're calling the future. You are not worried about tomorrow. You are creating anxiety today by imagining unpleasant scenarios and calling them future possibilities." "But these things could really happen," he protested. "Could they happen when?" I asked. "In the future, but there is no future. They could happen now, and if they happen now, you will deal with them now. They could happen in what you call tomorrow. But when tomorrow comes, it will be experienced as now, and you will deal with them in that now." I taught this man a revolutionary approach to planning and preparation. Instead of projecting his consciousness into an imaginary future and creating anxiety about hypothetical scenarios, he learned to plan and prepare in the present moment with present moment awareness. When he felt the urge to worry about future financial security, he would return to the present moment and take present moment action. Saving money now, investing now, learning about finances now. When he felt afraid about future health problems, he would return to the present moment and take care of his health now, exercising now, eating well now, managing stress now. But most importantly, he learned that his primary preparation for any future was the cultivation of present moment consciousness. If he developed the ability to remain peaceful, resourceful, and creative in the present moment, then he would have those same qualities available in whatever present moment he experienced next. The transformation was remarkable. His anxiety dissolved because he stopped trying to live in a dimension that doesn't exist. His effectiveness increased because he focused all his energy on present moment action rather than future worry. His joy returned because he stopped postponing happiness until some imaginary future condition was met. This is the great secret. There is no future to prepare for except by being fully present now. There is no tomorrow to plan for except by living consciously today. There is no next year to worry about except by creating wisely in this eternal moment. But this truth goes much deeper than simply reducing anxiety or improving planning. When you truly understand that there is no future, you realize that all creation happens now. All manifestation occurs in the present moment. All transformation takes place in the eternal here and now. Most people believe they are manifesting for the future. They think their desires will come to them in some tomorrow that doesn't exist. They imagine their good arriving in some next week that never comes. They plan for happiness in some next year that will never be anything other than now. But consciousness creates in the present moment. Imagination manifests now. Assumption becomes experience immediately. Not in some future time, but in the eternal now that is the only time there is. Let me share with you a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A young woman came to see me who had been trying to manifest her ideal relationship for 3 years. She said, "Neville, I've been visualizing my perfect partner, feeling the love, imagining our life together. But it's been 3 years and he still hasn't shown up. When will my manifestation finally happen?" I said to her, "It has already happened. It's happening right now. Your manifestation doesn't exist in some future time. It exists in the eternal present. When you imagine your perfect relationship, you are experiencing your perfect relationship now. When you feel loved, you are loved now. When you visualize your ideal partner, you are with your ideal partner now." "But I'm still physically alone," she protested. "You are alone in one dimension of now," I replied, "and in relationship in another dimension of now. Both experiences are happening in the present moment. The question is not when your relationship will manifest in some future. The question is which dimension of now you choose to inhabit most of the time." I taught this woman that she was not waiting for love to come to her in the future. She was choosing between different present moment experiences of consciousness. She could experience the now of loneliness or the now of love. She could inhabit the now of lack or the now of fulfillment. She could live in the now of waiting or the now of having. When she truly understood that there is no future, something magical happened. She stopped waiting for love and started being love. She stopped anticipating relationship and started experiencing relationship in her imagination with such reality that it became more compelling than her physical solitude. Within 6 months, she met a man who perfectly matched the consciousness of love she had been cultivating in the eternal now. Not because her manifestation had finally come from some future dimension, but because she had learned to live so consistently in the now of fulfilled love that physical reality naturally reflected her inner experience. This is the secret of instant manifestation. When you realize there is no future, you stop waiting for your good and start experiencing it now. When you understand that there is no tomorrow, you stop postponing your fulfillment and start claiming it in the eternal present. But let me address what might be the most challenging aspect of this teaching. If there is no future, what about goals, dreams, and aspirations? How do you create positive change without planning for the future? The answer is profound. You don't plan for the future. You plan in the eternal now. You don't set goals for tomorrow. You align with your desires in the present moment. You don't work toward future achievement. You embody present moment fulfillment. Every goal you think you're working toward exists right now in the dimension of consciousness. Every dream you think you're moving toward is available right now in the realm of imagination. Every aspiration you think you're building toward can be experienced right now in the eternal present. I remember a businessman who wanted to expand his company but was constantly frustrated by the slow pace of progress. He said, "Neville, I have all these plans for the future of my business, but everything takes so long. When will I finally achieve the success I'm working toward?" I said to him, "You will never achieve success because success is not a future destination. It's a present moment experience. You can be successful right now by feeling successful right now. You can have the expanded business right now by experiencing the expanded business in your consciousness right now." "But my business is still small," he said. "Your business is small in one dimension of now," I replied, "and large in another dimension of now. Both realities exist in the present moment. The question is which reality you choose to inhabit with your attention and assumption." This man learned to run his business from the consciousness of already being successful rather than trying to become successful in some future. He made decisions from the feeling of expansion rather than the feeling of limitation. He treated his current small business as if it were already the large business he desired. The expansion happened so naturally and quickly that it felt like remembering rather than achieving. Opportunities appeared, resources manifested, growth occurred, not because the future had finally arrived, but because he had learned to live in the present moment dimension where his success already existed. Now you might be wondering if there is no future. What about hope? What about anticipation? What about looking forward to good things? Here's the beautiful truth. When you realize there is no future, hope becomes certainty. When you understand that everything exists in the eternal now, anticipation becomes immediate experience. When you know that there is no tomorrow, looking forward becomes living now. Hope is the feeling you have when you believe your good exists in some future time. But when you realize there is no future, you discover that your good exists right now in the dimension of consciousness. Hope transforms into knowing. Anticipation becomes experience. Looking forward becomes being present. Let me tell you about a mother who was hoping for her son's recovery from addiction. She said, "Neville, I hope someday he'll get clean. I look forward to the day when our family is whole again. I anticipate the future when this nightmare is over." I said to her, "There is no someday for his recovery. There is only now. There is no future day when your family will be whole. There is only this eternal moment. There is no tomorrow when the nightmare will be over. There is only the present moment choice to live in the dream of wholeness." I taught this mother that her son's recovery was not a future event, but a present reality in the dimension of consciousness, where all healing exists. Her family's wholeness was not a tomorrow experience, but a now possibility. The end of the nightmare was not a future occurrence, but a present moment choice to live in love rather than fear. She learned to experience her son as already healed in the eternal now. She felt the reality of family wholeness in the present moment. She lived from the consciousness of recovery rather than the consciousness of addiction. 6 months later, her son entered treatment voluntarily and achieved lasting sobriety. Not because the future had finally arrived, but because she had learned to live so consistently in the now of healing that physical reality reflected her inner experience. This is what happens when you truly understand that there is no future. You stop waiting for your life to begin and start living it now. You stop postponing happiness until conditions change and start choosing happiness in present circumstances. You stop believing that your good is coming someday and start knowing that your good is here now. So tonight I want you to conduct a great experiment. For the next week, live as if there is no future, not irresponsibly, but consciously. When you catch yourself worrying about tomorrow, return to experiencing now. When you find yourself postponing happiness until some future condition, choose happiness in present circumstances. Stop waiting for your life to get better in some imaginary future and start making it better in the real present. Stop believing your good is coming someday and start knowing your good is here now. Stop planning for happiness and start being happy. Discover what happens when you stop trying to live in a time that doesn't exist and start fully inhabiting the time that is the only time there is. The moment of now. You will find that without a future to worry about, anxiety disappears. Without a tomorrow to postpone happiness until, joy becomes immediate. Without a someday to wait for your good, fulfillment becomes present. There is no future because there is only now. There is no tomorrow because there is only today. There is no someday because there is only this day. The eternal day of present moment consciousness. Stop trying to get to a future that will never come and start living in the now that never leaves. Stop waiting for your life to begin in some tomorrow and start experiencing your life as it is right now. Eternal, perfect, and complete in every present moment. There is no future. There is only now. And now is all you need for every experience of joy, love, abundance, and fulfillment that you've been postponing until some imaginary later. The future is an illusion. The present is reality. Choose to live in reality. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to speak to you about something that has confounded humanity for centuries. Something that has been deliberately mystified and made complex when it is, in truth, beautifully simple. I want to speak to you about money. Not as a piece of paper, not as numbers in an account, but as what it truly is. Crystallized imagination, solidified consciousness, the very substance of your own wonderful human imagination made manifest in the world of Caesar. You see, my friends, most of you have been hypnotized into believing that money is separate from you. You've been taught to chase it, to struggle for it, to worship it, to fear its absence. But tonight I'm here to wake you from this collective dream and show you something revolutionary. You don't attract money, you are money. You don't get abundance, you are abundance. The very energy that creates galaxies, that spins atoms, that beats your heart, is the same energy that appears to you as money. The man who taught me these truths, my old friend Abdullah, once said to me when I complained about my financial circumstances, "Neville, you are the operant power. Stop looking at your bank account to determine your wealth. Your wealth is determined in consciousness, and your bank account merely reflects what you have accepted as true about yourself." I want you to understand this clearly. Every dollar that has ever come to you came first as an assumption in your consciousness. Every financial breakthrough you've experienced began as a mental acceptance of prosperity. Every penny you've lost started as an unconscious acceptance of lack. The outer world of money is nothing but the shadow cast by your inner convictions about yourself. Now you may ask, "Neville, how can I become the energy of money when my circumstances scream poverty? How can I feel abundant when my bills are unpaid?" And I say to you, this is precisely when the work must be done. Anyone can feel abundant when their account overflows. But can you feel the thrill of wealth when your wallet is empty? Can you carry yourself with the confidence of a millionaire when the world tells you you're broke? This is the test of a true student of the law. Let me tell you about the nature of money from the mystical perspective. In the ancient teachings, money represents the element of earth, the densest, most material expression of spirit. It is spirit slowed down to such a degree that it appears solid, permanent, scarce. But in truth, it is as fluid as water, as changeable as thought, as abundant as air. The mystics knew that to master money, one must first master the art of mental transformation. I once had a student, a man named Robert, who came to me completely broken financially. His business had failed, his home was in foreclosure, and his family had lost faith in him. He said to me, "Neville, I've tried everything. I've worked 18-hour days. I've taken every opportunity, but money seems to slip through my fingers like sand." I said to him, "Robert, you've been working in the world of effect, trying to change circumstances by manipulating circumstances. But money is not created in the world of effect. It's created in the world of cause, which is consciousness itself." I taught him what I'm teaching you tonight, that he must become money in consciousness before money could become his, in fact. For 3 months, Robert faithfully practiced what I call the golden thread technique. Every night before sleep, he would imagine a golden thread connecting his heart to an infinite source of supply. He would feel this thread pulsing with abundance, drawing to him everything he needed. He would imagine money flowing to him through this thread, not as payment for struggle, but as his natural inheritance as a son of the Most High. But here's what made Robert's technique so powerful. He didn't just imagine receiving money. He imagined being worthy of money, being someone to whom money naturally gravitated. He saw himself as a steward of abundance, someone through whom prosperity could flow to bless others. This shift from receiver to channel transformed everything. The breakthrough came in an unexpected way. Robert was walking past a construction site when he overheard 2 contractors arguing about a problem that was costing them thousands of dollars daily. Robert had encountered this exact problem years earlier in his failed business and had developed a solution. Within an hour, he had not only solved their problem, but had been offered a consulting contract worth more than he had made in the previous 2 years. Let me share with you another profound truth about money that most people never realize. Money has memory. Every bill, every coin, every transaction carries the consciousness of everyone who has handled it. When you receive money with gratitude and joy, you add to its positive memory. When you spend money with resentment or fear, you contaminate its energy. This is why the wealthy seem to attract money so effortlessly, not because they're lucky, but because they handle money with respect, confidence, and appreciation. Their consciousness elevates the very money they touch, and money, having consciousness, prefers to return to those who honor its nature. I learned this lesson in the most dramatic way during my early years in New York. I was struggling as a dancer, barely earning enough to eat. One day I found a crumpled $5 bill on the street, a fortune to me then. My first impulse was to rush to the nearest restaurant and satisfy my gnawing hunger. But something Abdullah had taught me stopped me cold. He had said, "Neville, the first money that comes to you when you change your consciousness is a test. How you treat this first gift determines how quickly and abundantly the rest will follow." So instead of spending that $5 on food, I took it to my small room, smoothed it out carefully, and held it while I prayed a prayer of gratitude. I thanked that $5 bill for coming to me. I blessed it and asked it to multiply and return to me with friends. Then I placed it in my Bible and left it there for 3 days, reading scripture about abundance each time I opened the book. When I finally spent it, I spent it on something beautiful. A small bouquet of flowers for the landlady who had been patient with my late rent. Within a week, opportunities began appearing from nowhere. A fellow dancer recommended me for a role I hadn't auditioned for. A stranger overheard me discussing my financial struggles and offered me odd jobs that paid remarkably well. By the end of the month, I had earned more than I had in the previous 3 months combined. You see, my friends, money is not merely currency, it's communication. Every financial transaction is a conversation between your consciousness and the infinite supply of the universe. When you pay bills with resentment, you're saying, "I don't have enough and I resent having to give this away." The universe responds by creating more situations where you feel you don't have enough. But when you pay bills with gratitude, you're saying, "I am so abundant that money flows through me to bless others." The universe responds by creating more situations where money can flow through you. This is not mystical nonsense. This is the practical application of consciousness to financial reality. You see, my friends, money is not merely currency. It's communication. Every financial transaction is a conversation between your consciousness and the infinite supply of the universe. When you pay bills with resentment, you're saying, "I don't have enough, and I resent having to give this away." The universe responds by creating more situations where you feel you don't have enough. But when you pay bills with gratitude, you're saying, "I am so abundant that money flows through me to bless others." The universe responds by creating more situations where money can flow through you. This is not mystical nonsense. This is the practical application of consciousness to financial reality. Let me teach you what I call the sacred exchange principle. Every time money changes hands, there is an opportunity for blessing or cursing, for elevation or diminishment. When you pay for something, you have 3 choices. You can pay with resentment. Cursing the exchange, you can pay with indifference, neutral exchange, or you can pay with gratitude and blessing, elevating the exchange. The wealthy intuitively understand this principle. They don't just buy things, they invest in relationships. They support dreams. They participate in the flow of abundance. Even when they pay taxes, they see it as their contribution to the infrastructure that supports their prosperity. This consciousness of sacred exchange is what keeps money circulating back to them in ever-increasing amounts. Now let me tell you about what I call the assumption of wealth. This goes far deeper than mere positive thinking or visualization. This is about assuming the fundamental identity of someone to whom money flows naturally and effortlessly. It's about answering the question, who would I be if I had never known financial worry? The assumption of wealth is not about having millions in the bank. It's about having the consciousness that creates millions. It's about thinking like someone who has never doubted their ability to provide for themselves and their loved ones. It's about moving through the world with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are connected to an inexhaustible source. I remember a woman named Margaret who attended my lectures in Los Angeles. She was a school teacher, earning barely enough to survive, supporting her elderly mother and her sister's children after her sister's death. She came to me and said, "Neville, I understand what you teach about assumption. But how can I assume wealth when I can barely make ends meet?" I taught her the exercise I'm about to share with you. I said, "Margaret, every morning when you wake up before your feet touch the floor, I want you to lie still and imagine that you are waking up in the master bedroom of your dream home. Feel the luxury of the bed sheets, smell the fresh flowers that your housekeeper has placed in crystal vases, hear the sound of the fountain in your courtyard. But most importantly, feel the deep peace that comes from knowing you can provide abundantly for everyone you love." For the first month, Margaret found this exercise almost impossible. Her circumstances seemed to mock her imagination. Bills piled up, unexpected expenses arose, and her mother's medical needs increased. But I encouraged her to persist, reminding her that imagination is the only reality, and everything else is shadow. Gradually something began to shift. Margaret noticed that she was walking differently, speaking with more authority, making decisions with greater confidence. She stopped apologizing for her circumstances and started speaking about her future with certainty. When opportunities for extra income arose, instead of desperately grasping at them, she evaluated them with the discernment of someone who had many options. The transformation accelerated when Margaret began to give from her imagination of wealth, rather than from her circumstances of lack. Even though her bank account was nearly empty, she would mentally allocate portions of her imaginary abundance to help others. She would imagine setting up scholarships, funding community programs, supporting young teachers. What happened next can only be described as miraculous. Margaret received a call from a lawyer she had never met. It turned out that a former student of hers, now a successful businessman, had died and left her a substantial inheritance. His will stated that she had been the only teacher who had truly believed in him, and he wanted to ensure she never had to worry about money again. But the gift didn't stop there. The inheritance came with instructions for Margaret to establish an educational foundation, fulfilling exactly the vision she had been imagining during her morning exercises. Within 2 years, she had become one of the most influential educational philanthropists in the state, channeling millions of dollars to programs that transform children's lives. When Margaret came to thank me, she said something I'll never forget. "Neville, I realize now that I wasn't imagining my future, I was remembering my true nature. The wealth wasn't coming to me, it was coming through me because I had finally accepted that I am a channel for infinite abundance." This brings me to perhaps the most important teaching I can share with you tonight about money. You are not the destination of wealth, you are the vehicle of wealth. Money does not flow to you to stop with you, but to flow through you to accomplish great purposes. When you understand this, when you see yourself as a steward rather than an accumulator, money begins to trust you with greater and greater amounts. The universe is always seeking channels through which it can express its abundance. It's looking for people who can handle wealth without being corrupted by it, who can receive abundance without becoming selfish, who can prosper without forgetting their connection to others. When you prove yourself to be such a channel, wealth flows to you not as a reward but as a responsibility and an opportunity to serve. Let me share with you the technique that has produced more millionaires among my students than any other. I call it the generous millionaire meditation. Every night, as you prepare for sleep, imagine that you have just received news that you have inherited $10 million. But here's the crucial part. Instead of imagining what you would buy for yourself, imagine how you would use this money to make a difference in the world. Feel the joy of being able to pay off your parents' mortgage. Experience the satisfaction of funding scholarships for deserving students. Imagine the tears of gratitude in the eyes of someone whose medical bills you've just covered. Feel what it's like to walk through life, knowing that you have the power to transform situations, to turn desperation into hope, to be an answer to someone's prayers. As you imagine these scenarios night after night, something profound happens to your consciousness. You begin to associate money not with personal gratification, but with the power to serve, to heal, to elevate. This shift in association transforms your entire relationship with abundance, and abundance responds by manifesting in your experience. But remember this crucial point. You must feel these generous acts as already accomplished, not as future possibilities. In your imagination, you have already inherited the money and already blessed others with it. The feeling you're cultivating is not anticipation, but fulfillment, not hope, but completion. Before I close tonight, let me share with you the deepest secret about money that took me years to fully understand. Money is not a thing, it's a relationship. It's the relationship between consciousness and form, between desire and manifestation, between thought and thing. Every dollar is a love letter from the universe, confirming that your consciousness has been received and understood. When you truly grasp this, when you feel in your bones that every financial blessing is the universe saying yes to your assumptions about yourself, then money becomes not just currency but communion. Every transaction becomes a celebration. Every payment becomes a prayer. Every receipt becomes a receipt of divine approval. So tonight, I leave you with this sacred assignment. Go to your mirror and look into your own eyes. Not the eyes of someone who needs money, but the eyes of someone through whom money flows to bless the world. Say these words with the conviction of absolute truth. I am the energy of money. I am the vehicle of abundance. I am the channel through which infinite supply flows to accomplish infinite good. Feel these words not as affirmations, but as recognitions of what has always been true. You are not trying to become abundant. You are remembering that abundance is your nature. You are not trying to attract wealth. You are accepting that wealth is your birthright as a child of the infinite. The kingdom of abundance is not above you, not around you, but within you. Stop seeking it outside yourself and claim it where it has always been, in the wonderful world of your own imagination. And from that world of imagination, watch as your assumed wealth becomes your experienced wealth, as your imagined abundance becomes your lived abundance. You have the power, my friends. You have always had the power. Tonight decide to use it, not just for yourself, but for the elevation of all humanity. For when you prosper in consciousness, you create a template of possibility that others can follow. Your wealth becomes their hope. Your abundance becomes their inspiration. Go now and become the energy of money itself. The world is waiting for the wealth that only you can channel. You have the power, my friends. You have always had the power. Tonight decide to use it, not just for yourself, but for the elevation of all humanity. For when you prosper in consciousness, you create a template of possibility that others can follow. Your wealth becomes their hope. Your abundance becomes their inspiration. Go now and become the energy of money itself. The world is waiting for the wealth that only you can channel. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video. Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I want to reveal to you the most powerful creative force in the universe. A force so immediate, so responsive, so absolutely faithful, that every time you use it, without exception, it begins immediately to create the reality you have declared. This force is not hidden in some distant realm. It requires no special knowledge, no years of study, no elaborate rituals. It is available to you right now, has always been available, and will always be available. That force, my friends, is contained in two simple words. I am. These are not merely words you speak. They are the very name of God operating through you. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked the Almighty for his name, the answer came back with thunderous clarity, I am that I am. And that same creative power, that same divine authority, lives within you and expresses through you every time you declare, I am. Most people use these words carelessly, unconsciously, destructively. They say, I am broke, I am sick, I am lonely, I am afraid, never realizing that they are speaking with the creative authority of the universe itself. They are wielding the most powerful magic wand ever created, but they are using it to create limitation, suffering, and lack. Tonight, I want to teach you to use your magic wand consciously, deliberately, powerfully. I want to show you how to transform every I am statement into a conscious act of creation that builds the life you desire rather than perpetuating the life you want to escape. The revelation that changed my understanding forever came through a gentleman who approached me after one of my lectures. He was a man of obvious intelligence and education, yet he was trapped in circumstances that seemed to contradict his capabilities. "Neville," he said, "I've studied your teachings for months. I understand the principles intellectually, but I can't seem to make them work. My life continues to be a series of disappointments and failures." As we spoke, I began to notice something remarkable. In the space of 10 minutes, this man used the words "I am" followed by limitation more than 20 times. "I am always unlucky. I am not good at relationships. I am terrible with money. I am just not the type of person who succeeds." Each statement was spoken with complete conviction, as though he was stating irrefutable facts about his nature. I stopped him mid-sentence and said, "My friend, you have just shown me exactly why your life is filled with limitation. You are using the creative power of I am to constantly affirm your limitations. You are speaking your struggles into existence with the very power that could speak your freedom into existence." He looked at me with confusion. "But these things are true about me. I'm just being honest about my situation." "No," I replied. "You are being creative about your situation. Every time you say I am followed by any condition, you are not describing reality. You are creating reality. You are not stating facts. You are establishing facts. The universe has no choice but to confirm whatever you declare yourself to be." That evening, I taught this man the true power of his words. I showed him how to transform every limiting I am statement into a creative declaration of his desired reality. Instead of saying I am unlucky, he learned to declare I am blessed. Instead of I am not good at relationships, he began to affirm I am deeply loved and loving. Instead of I am terrible with money, he started stating I am naturally abundant. At first, these new statements felt foreign and false to him, because they contradicted his current experience. But I explained that feeling false was actually a good sign. It meant he was expanding beyond his old identity into a new one. The goal was not to convince his mind that these things were already true, but to impress upon his subconscious that these were the truths he was choosing to create. Within 6 months, every aspect of this man's life had transformed. Opportunities appeared that perfectly matched his new I am declarations. People responded to him differently because he was responding to himself differently. His entire reality reorganized itself around the new identity he had been consistently claiming through his I am statements. But the most remarkable change was in the man himself. He had stopped being a victim of circumstances and had become the conscious creator of circumstances. He had learned to wield his magic wand with intention and purpose. You see, I am is not simply a phrase you speak. It is the creative mechanism through which consciousness expresses itself as individual experience. Every time you say I am and complete that statement, you are defining yourself to yourself and to the universe. You are declaring your identity, and identity is destiny. The power of I am works whether you use it consciously or unconsciously, positively or negatively. It is always creating. The question is, what are you creating? Are you using your magic wand to create the life you desire? Or are you unconsciously creating more of what you want to escape? Let me tell you about a woman who discovered this power in the most practical way possible. She came to me struggling with chronic illness that had persisted for years, despite every medical treatment available. "Neville," she said, "I've tried everything the doctors suggested, but nothing works. I'm beginning to think I'll never be healthy again." As she spoke, I noticed her constant use of illness-affirming I am statements. I am sick. I am weak. I am always tired. I am not getting better. Each statement was strengthening her identity as a sick person and therefore reinforcing her experience of sickness. I said to her, "You have been using the creative power of I am to constantly reaffirm your illness. But that same power can be used to affirm your health. What if, instead of saying I am sick, you began to say I am perfectly healthy? What if, instead of I am weak, you declared I am strong and vital? But I don't feel healthy and strong, she protested. Wouldn't I be lying? You would be choosing, I replied. Right now, you are choosing to identify with sickness by constantly declaring yourself to be sick. But you could just as easily choose to identify with health by declaring yourself to be healthy. Neither statement describes reality. Both statements create reality. I taught this woman to become conscious of every I am statement she made throughout the day. Whenever she caught herself affirming limitation or illness, she would immediately correct herself with an affirmation of health and vitality. Instead of I am tired, she would say I am energetic. Instead of I am in pain, she would declare I am comfortable and at ease. The transformation was gradual but profound. As she consistently used her I am statements to claim health rather than illness, her body began to respond. Her energy increased, her symptoms diminished, and within a year she had recovered completely from the condition that doctors had said was incurable. She had learned to use her magic wand to create health instead of perpetuating illness. The same creative power that had been making her sick was now making her well. This brings us to one of the most important truths about I am. It always creates in the present moment. When you say I am healthy, you are not making a statement about your future health. You are claiming health as your present identity. When you declare I am abundant, you are not hoping for future abundance. You are embodying abundance now. The magic wand of I am does not create gradually over time. It creates immediately and continuously. Every I am statement is creating right now, in this moment, whether you realize it or not. Let me share with you the story of a young man who grasped this principle so completely that his transformation seemed miraculous to everyone who knew him. He was working at a job he hated for wages that barely supported him, feeling trapped in circumstances that seemed unchangeable. One day he came to understand the power of his I am statements. He realized that for years he had been saying, I am stuck, I am underpaid, I am unappreciated, and I am trapped. He was using his creative power to continuously recreate the very circumstances he wanted to escape. He made a decision that changed his life forever. He decided to use his I am statements to create the reality he desired instead of perpetuating the reality he wanted to leave behind. Every morning he would declare, I am successful. I am valued. I am well compensated for my contributions. I am free to create the career I love. At first, these statements seemed to contradict his external circumstances, but he understood that he was not describing his current situation. He was creating his new situation. He was using his magic wand to forge a new identity, and he knew that external circumstances would eventually conform to match his internal identity. Within 3 months, he had been offered a position with another company that paid twice his current salary. Within a year, he had been promoted to a leadership role that utilized his talents perfectly. Within 2 years, he had started his own successful business. But the most remarkable change was not in his external circumstances. It was in his relationship with himself. He had learned to see himself as successful, valuable, and free. And this new self-concept had manifested as a completely transformed life. Now, let me address a crucial point that often confuses people: the difference between affirming I am something and actually being it. When you declare I am wealthy, while your bank account shows little money, are you lying to yourself? The answer is that you are choosing which level of truth to identify with. Your bank account reflects one level of reality, the level of current external circumstances. But your consciousness is a deeper level of reality that has the power to change any external circumstance. When you say I am wealthy, you are not describing your current bank balance. You are claiming the consciousness of wealth that will create a wealthy bank balance. You are identifying with the truth of your unlimited nature rather than the appearance of your temporary limitation. The I am statements work by shifting your identity from what you appear to be to what you choose to become. They transform you from the inside out And external changes follow internal changes as naturally as fruit follows the planting of a seed. I remember a woman who wanted to heal a troubled relationship with her adult daughter. For years, their interactions had been filled with conflict and misunderstanding. The woman would say, "I am a terrible mother. I am always saying the wrong thing. I am just not good at relationships." I taught her to transform these limiting declarations into creative ones. I am a loving mother. I am wise in my communications. I am naturally skilled at creating harmony in relationships. As she consistently used these new I am statements, something beautiful began to happen. She started responding to her daughter differently because she was seeing herself differently. Her words became more thoughtful, her tone more gentle, her approach more understanding. Within months, their relationship had healed completely. The daughter later said, "I don't know what happened, but Mom became a completely different person. The mother I always wished I had." The woman had not changed her daughter. She had changed her I am identity. And that change had transformed every aspect of their relationship. This illustrates another crucial aspect of the I am power. It not only changes how you experience yourself, but it changes how others experience you. When you transform your identity through I am statements, you literally become a different person, and the world responds to this new person accordingly. People will say, "You seem different," or "Something has changed about you," without being able to identify exactly what that change is. What they are sensing is a shift in your fundamental identity, a change in who you know yourself to be. The key to using I am as your magic wand is consistency and consciousness. You must become aware of how you currently use these powerful words, and you must take control of what follows them. Every I am statement is a creative act. Make sure you are creating consciously. Begin by paying attention to your automatic I am statements throughout the day. Notice when you say things like "I am tired," "I am stressed," "I am confused," "I am overwhelmed." Each of these statements is using your creative power to reinforce the very conditions you want to change. Instead, begin to consciously choose what follows I am. Even if your circumstances seem to suggest otherwise, declare the truth you want to create. I am energetic. I am peaceful. I am clear. I am capable. Remember, you are not trying to convince anyone else of these statements. You are impressing them upon your own subconscious mind. You are teaching yourself a new identity, and identity always manifests as experience. The magic wand of I am requires no belief from others, no external validation, no permission from circumstances. It works purely through the creative power of consciousness declaring its chosen reality. Some people worry about using I am statements that seem to contradict their current experience. They fear they are being dishonest or unrealistic. But you must understand that there are many levels of truth, and you have the power to choose which level to inhabit. Your current circumstances represent the truth of what you have been. Your I am statements represent the truth of what you are becoming. Both are real, but one is creative while the other is historical. When you declare I am healthy, you are not denying that your body currently shows symptoms of illness. You are choosing to identify with the health that exists in consciousness rather than the illness that appears in form. You are claiming your right to be well rather than accepting a sentence of sickness. Let me share one final story that demonstrates the ultimate power of conscious I am declaration. A man came to me who had struggled with addiction for many years. He had tried numerous treatments and recovery programs, but nothing had created lasting change. As we spoke, I noticed his constant identification with his addiction. I am an addict. I am powerless. I am broken. I am diseased. Every statement was reinforcing his identity as someone controlled by substances rather than someone in control of his choices. I taught him to completely reverse his I am declarations. I am free. I am powerful. I am whole. I am in complete control of my choices. At first, these statements felt impossible to him because they contradicted years of conditioning and current experience. But I explained that his recovery would not come from fighting his addiction. It would come from claiming a new identity that was incompatible with addictive behavior. He needed to stop being an addict trying to get sober and start being a free person who naturally made healthy choices. As he consistently used his I am statements to claim freedom rather than bondage, his entire relationship with substances began to change. He no longer saw himself as someone struggling against addiction. He saw himself as someone who was naturally free and healthy. The transformation was complete and lasting. He had not overcome addiction through willpower or external support. He had transcended addiction through identity transformation. He had used his magic wand to create a new self that had no relationship with addictive substances. So tonight, I want you to recognize the incredible power you wield every time you say, I am. These words are not casual conversation. They are the creative authority of the universe expressing through you. They are your magic wand, and you can use this wand to create any reality you choose. Begin today to use your I am statements consciously and constructively. Claim the identity you desire rather than confirming the identity you want to escape. Declare yourself to be what you wish to become rather than what you appear to be. Remember, every I am statement is a prayer, a command, a creative decree issued by the divine consciousness that you are. The universe must respond to these declarations because they are spoken with the authority of God Himself. Use your magic wand wisely. Use it deliberately. Use it to create the magnificent life that is your birthright and destiny. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to teach you one of the most powerful techniques I have ever discovered. A technique so simple that a child could understand it, yet so profound that it can literally collapse time and bring your desires to you almost instantly. Tonight you will learn how to teleport to your future, and then think from that future as though it were your past. You will learn how to remember your desires as already accomplished, to recall your wishes as already fulfilled, to look back on your dreams as events that have already happened. This is not visualization. This is not imagination in the way most people practice it. This is something far more powerful. This is memory creation. And when you learn to create memories of events that have not yet happened in time, you collapse the gap between desire and manifestation. Are you ready to teleport to your future? Then let us begin. Before I teach you this technique, let me show you what most people do wrong when they try to manifest their desires. Most people think about their desires as future events. They imagine themselves getting what they want someday. They visualize achieving their goals at some point in the future. They dream about the life they will have when their desires finally manifest. When I get the money, I will be happy. When I find love, my life will be complete. When I get the job, everything will change. Do you see the problem? Every time you think about your desire as something that will happen in the future, you are pushing it away from you. You are keeping it perpetually ahead of you. Always tomorrow, never today. The future never comes. Tomorrow never arrives. There is only now, this eternal present moment. And as long as your desire lives in the future, it will never enter the now, where all manifestation takes place. Think about it. When you say, I will be wealthy, you are declaring that you are not wealthy now. When you say, I will be loved, you are confirming that you are not loved now. When you say, I will be successful, you are affirming that you are not successful now. And consciousness creates from what you are now, not from what you will be later. If you are in the state of not having, consciousness creates more not having. If you are in the state of waiting, consciousness creates more waiting. This is why people can visualize and affirm for years without results. They are always looking forward to their desires, never claiming them as present reality. Now let me reveal to you a secret that changes everything. There is a way to bring the future into the present instantly, and that way is through the past. This sounds like a riddle, so let me explain. When you remember something, when you recall an event from your past, how does it feel? Does it feel like you are hoping for it? Does it feel like you are trying to create it? Does it feel uncertain? No. When you remember something, it feels certain. It feels real. It feels accomplished. It feels like an absolute fact that cannot be changed. Think about what you did yesterday. Do you doubt that it happened? Do you question whether it is real? Do you feel anxious about whether it will occur? No. You simply know it happened. You have a memory of it. It is a fact of your experience. This is the energy of the past. This is the feeling of something already accomplished, already done, already experienced. And this is the exact energy you need to bring to your desires. When you can remember your desires as though they already happened, when you can recall your wishes as though they were past events, you give them the reality, the certainty, the already done quality that collapses the gap between desire and manifestation. So here is the technique. It is simple, but you must practice it exactly as I teach you. Tonight before you go to sleep, you are going to teleport to your future. You are going to jump ahead in time to a moment after your desire has been fulfilled. Not the moment of getting it, but a moment after you have had it for a while. If you desire money, do not imagine receiving money. Instead, teleport to a moment 3 months after you became wealthy. If you desire a relationship, do not imagine meeting someone. Instead, jump ahead to a moment 6 months into the relationship. If you desire success, do not visualize achieving it. Instead, teleport to a moment after you have been living in that success for some time. Why after, not during? Because during still has the energy of becoming. After has the energy of being. You want the energy of already accomplished, already settled, already normal. So you close your eyes and you teleport. You jump ahead in time. You are now in your desired future. You are living in the reality where your wish is fulfilled. This is not something that might happen. This is not a hope or a dream. This is where you are right now in this exercise. You have teleported to this moment. Now from this future moment, you are going to think backwards. You are going to remember how it all happened. You are going to recall the journey that brought you here. You are going to think about your desire as something that happened in your past. This is where the magic happens. You are not imagining the future. You are remembering it. Let me give you a specific example. Suppose you desire to own a beautiful home. Here is how you would practice this technique. Close your eyes. Teleport 6 months into the future. You are now sitting in your beautiful home. You have been living here for months. It is completely normal now. You take it for granted. From this position in the future, you begin to remember. You think back to the day you got the keys. You recall how excited you were. You remember the first night you slept in this home. You think about how you told your friends the good news. You recall the feeling of relief and joy when everything worked out. Do you see what you are doing? You are creating memories. Not future projections, but actual memories, as though these events already occurred in your past. And here is the crucial part. You are not creating these memories from your present moment looking forward. You are creating them from your future moment looking backward. You have teleported to the future, and from that future position you are remembering the past. This is thinking like it happened yesterday. This is remembering your desire as an accomplished fact. Let me explain why this technique works so much better than ordinary visualization or affirmation. When you visualize something in the future, your mind knows it has not happened yet. There is doubt, there is uncertainty, there is the question of, will this really happen? Even if you try to convince yourself, there is always a gap between where you are and where you want to be. But when you remember something, your mind accepts it as fact. Memories feel real. Memories feel certain. Memories feel accomplished. There is no doubt in a memory. By creating memories of your fulfilled desire, by remembering your wish as already accomplished, you give your subconscious mind the signal that it is done. Your subconscious does not know the difference between a memory of something that happened in linear time and a memory you created through imagination. To your subconscious, a memory is a memory, and memories are facts. When you consistently remember your desire as already accomplished, your subconscious accepts this as reality. And when your subconscious accepts something as reality, it begins to reorganize your entire world to match that reality. Opportunities appear. Circumstances shift. People say unexpected things. The bridge of incidents builds itself naturally and effortlessly because your subconscious is working from the assumption that it is already done. Now let me teach you how to enhance this technique with the right feeling. When you remember something that happened yesterday, notice the quality of that feeling. It is not excitement. It is not hope. It is not anticipation. It is a calm, settled, natural feeling of yes, that happened. There is a certainty to it, but not a straining certainty. There is a realness to it, but not an effortful realness. It simply is. It is a fact of your experience, and facts do not require effort to maintain. This is the exact feeling you want when you remember your desire as already accomplished. Not the excitement of something about to happen, not the hope that it might occur, but the calm, settled knowing that it already happened. When you teleport to your future and create memories looking backward, you want to feel the way you feel about yesterday. Normal, natural, certain. Done. A woman came to me who wanted to manifest a specific amount of money for a down payment on a house. She had been visualizing receiving the money for months with no results. She was getting frustrated and discouraged. I taught her this technique. I said, stop imagining receiving the money in the future. Instead, teleport 3 months ahead. You now have the money. You have made the down payment. You are living in your new home. From that position, remember back to the day the money came. Recall how it happened. Think about it like you think about yesterday. She practiced this every night for 2 weeks. And she noticed something interesting. As she remembered the money coming to her, as she recalled it as a past event, she began to feel different about money in her present moment. The desperate hoping fell away. The anxiety dissolved. She felt calm and certain, like someone who knows something good already happened. Within 3 weeks, the exact amount she needed came to her through a source she had never considered. Her aunt, whom she rarely spoke to, called and offered her the money as an early inheritance. The money came easily, naturally, almost as though it had been waiting for her to remember that it was already hers. Now here is something profound about this technique. When you remember the future, you collapse time. Time is not a rigid structure. Time is consciousness unfolding in sequence, and consciousness can rearrange that sequence any way it chooses. When you create a memory of the future, you are telling consciousness that the future has already occurred, and consciousness responds by collapsing the apparent gap between now and then. From your present moment, 3 months might seem like a long time to wait for your desire. But when you teleport to 3 months in the future and remember backward, those 3 months become yesterday. They become the past. They become already done. And when something is already done in consciousness, the physical world rushes to catch up. What seemed like it would take months can happen in days. What seemed impossible can become inevitable. This is not magic. This is understanding how consciousness operates. Consciousness does not move through time linearly. Consciousness can be at any point in time simultaneously. When you consciously place yourself at the point of fulfillment and remember backward, you are collapsing the journey into a single moment of recognition. Let me give you a simple daily practice that will make this technique even more powerful. Every morning when you wake up, before you get out of bed, take 2 minutes to remember your fulfilled desire. Teleport to your desired future. From that future position, recall the journey that brought you there. Remember it like you remember yesterday. Throughout your day, whenever you think about your desire, do not think forward to it. Think backward from it. Catch yourself when you start thinking, I want this, or I hope this happens, and immediately shift to, oh yes, I remember when this happened. That was wonderful. At night before sleep, practice the full technique. Teleport to your future. Live in that moment of fulfillment. Then create detailed memories of how it all came to be. Fall asleep in the feeling of remembering, not in the feeling of wanting. This consistent practice trains your consciousness to live from the end, not to hope for the end, not to work toward the end, but to remember the end as already accomplished. Let me give you some specific examples of how to think like it happened yesterday for different desires. For money, I remember when that money came in, I was so relieved. I remember calling my sister to tell her the good news. I remember how natural it felt to pay off those bills. That was such a good day. For love, I remember the day we met. I remember our first conversation. I remember realizing this was exactly what I had been hoping for. I remember telling my friends about her. It all feels like it was just yesterday. For success, I remember when I got that promotion. I remember the moment my boss called me into her office. I remember the satisfaction I felt. I remember telling my family about it. It's still hard to believe it was 6 months ago already. For health, I remember when I started feeling better. I remember the doctor's surprise at my test results. I remember the energy returning to my body. I remember thinking I knew this would happen. That was such a turning point. Notice the language. Notice the feeling. You are not hoping, not visualizing, not affirming. You are remembering. You are recalling. You are thinking about your desire as an event that already took place. This is how you teleport to the future and think like it happened yesterday. When you practice this technique consistently, something remarkable happens. You stop worrying about how your desire will manifest. You stop trying to figure out the path. You stop forcing and pushing and struggling. Why? Because when you remember something, you do not question how it happened. You simply know it did. The details of how become irrelevant. All that matters is that it happened. This is the ultimate form of detachment. You are not detached from your desire. You are detached from the how because you are living from the position of it already being done. And when you are detached from the how, the universe has infinite ways to bring your desire to you. The bridge of incidents builds itself. The path appears. The means unfold. And often they unfold in ways you never could have planned or predicted. A man wanted to start a business but had no capital, no connections, and no clear path forward. Every time he thought about it, he felt overwhelmed by the obstacles. He did not know how it could happen. I taught him to stop thinking about how and start remembering that. I told him to teleport 1 year into the future where his business was thriving, and from that future position to remember back to how it all began. He practiced this faithfully, and something shifted in him. The anxiety about how fell away. He stopped seeing obstacles. He stopped feeling overwhelmed. He simply knew, with calm certainty, that his business existed and was successful. He remembered it as already done. Within 6 months, a series of unexpected connections and opportunities appeared. A former colleague offered to invest. A chance meeting led to his first major client. Resources appeared from sources he had not considered. The bridge built itself naturally and perfectly, because he had stopped trying to build it consciously and had started remembering it as already crossed. Let me share with you the ultimate secret of this technique. When you teleport to the future and think like it happened yesterday, you are not really traveling through time. You are recognizing that past, present, and future are all one. In consciousness, everything exists now. Your desire does not exist in the future, waiting to be created. It exists now, as a present reality in the infinite field of possibilities. When you remember it as already accomplished, you are not creating a false memory. You are accessing the true memory of an already existing reality. This is why this technique works. You are not pretending. You are not making something up. You are recognizing what is already true in the dimension where all creation takes place. Your desire is already accomplished. It already happened, not in the future, but now, in consciousness. And consciousness is the only reality that creates. When you remember this truth, when you recall your desire as already done, you align with what is already true, and the physical world must reflect it. Tonight before you sleep, I want you to try this technique. Choose one desire, just one. Close your eyes and teleport to a moment in your future where this desire is already fulfilled. Jump ahead 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever feels right. Now from that future moment, remember backward, recall how it happened. Remember the day your wish was fulfilled. Remember how you felt. Remember what you did. Remember what you thought. Create the memory as clearly as you would recall yesterday. Fall asleep in that memory. Let the feeling of it already happened be the last thing you experience before sleep. Do this every night. And throughout your day, when you think of your desire, do not think forward to it. Think backward from it. Remember it. Recall it. Think like it happened yesterday. This is the technique. This is how you teleport to the future and collapse time. This is how you bring your desires from tomorrow into today. Teleport to your future. Think like it happened yesterday. And watch as the physical world rushes to catch up with the memory you have created in consciousness. Thank you. And good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video. Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I am going to tell you something that may shock you. Something that contradicts almost everything you've been taught about manifestation. Stop manifesting. Stop trying to manifest. Stop working to manifest. Stop struggling to bring your desires into being. Because the very act of trying to manifest is the energy that keeps your desires at a distance. I can see the confusion on your faces. But Neville, you're thinking, isn't that why we're here? To learn how to manifest, to bring our desires into reality. And that is precisely the problem. As long as you are trying to manifest something, as long as you believe you must bring it into reality, you are affirming that it is not already real. You are declaring with every effort that you do not have it. And consciousness can only create from the state you occupy. Tonight I will show you what you should be doing instead of manifesting. And I promise you, when you understand this distinction, when you grasp this subtle but profound shift, everything will change. Let me explain what is wrong with the entire concept of manifesting as most people understand it. Can you say, I am manifesting money? What are you actually declaring? You are saying that money exists somewhere outside of you, and you must use certain techniques to pull it toward you, to make it appear in your reality. When you say, I am manifesting love, you are affirming that love is absent from your life, and you must do something to create it or attract it. When you say, I am manifesting healing, you are confirming that you are currently sick, and you must manifest health. Do you see the problem? The very language of manifestation keeps you in the state of not having. It keeps you in the position of seeking rather than possessing. It keeps you focused on the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And consciousness creates from where you are, not from where you want to be. If you are in the state of trying to manifest, consciousness creates more of that state, more trying, more seeking, more not having. This is why people can spend years trying to manifest the same desires. They visualize, they affirm, they do technique after technique. But nothing changes, because they are approaching it from the wrong state of consciousness. They are trying to manifest instead of being the manifestation. So if you should stop trying to manifest, what should you do instead? The answer is simple, powerful, and completely different. Assume. Do not try to manifest wealth. Assume you are wealthy. Do not try to manifest love. Assume you are loved. Do not try to manifest success. Assume you are successful. This is not a subtle distinction. This is a complete reversal of the entire approach. Manifesting is an action you take to create something. Assuming is a state you occupy because it is already created. Manifesting implies distance between you and your desire. Assuming collapses that distance entirely. Manifesting is effort. Assuming is rest. Think about something you already have in your life. Something so natural and normal that you never think about it. Perhaps your ability to read, your name, the fact that you live where you live. Do you try to manifest these things? Do you use techniques to bring them into reality? No. You simply assume they are yours. You take them for granted. They are so much a part of your accepted reality that you never question them. This is the state you must bring to your desires. Not the energy of trying to manifest them, but the peaceful assumption that they are already yours. Now let me explain why assumption is so much more powerful than trying to manifest. When you assume something is true, you think from it rather than about it. You no longer stand outside your desire looking at it, trying to bring it to you. You stand inside your desire, looking out at the world from that position. A person who is trying to manifest money thinks about money constantly. They focus on it, visualize it, work techniques to attract it. But they are always thinking about money, which means they are separate from it. A person who assumes wealth thinks from wealth. They make decisions from the consciousness of having money. They speak from abundance. They move through their day with the ease that comes from financial security. They are not thinking about wealth. They are thinking from wealth. This shift from thinking about to thinking from is the difference between years of effort with no results and instant manifestation. Let me share something with you. When I teach people to assume their desires are fulfilled, they often protest, "But Neville, I don't feel wealthy. I don't feel loved. I don't feel successful. How can I assume something I don't feel?" And I tell them the feeling follows the assumption, not the other way around. You do not wait to feel wealthy before you assume wealth. You assume wealth, and the feeling of wealth naturally follows. This is because assumption is a mental position, and feeling is the natural result of that position. When you truly assume something, when you take it as your starting point, the corresponding feeling must arise. But most people try to generate the feeling first, hoping that will manifest the thing. This is backwards. Assume first, occupy the state. The feeling will follow, and the manifestation will follow the feeling. So how do you actually do this? How do you stop manifesting and start assuming? You must make a fundamental shift in your self-concept. You must stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to get something and start seeing yourself as someone who already has it. Every morning when you wake up, before you do anything else, ask yourself, who am I today? And the answer must be, I am the person who already has my desire. Not I am working toward it. Not I am manifesting it. But I am it. I have it. It is already mine. Then you must live your entire day from this assumption. Every decision you make it from the consciousness of already having. Every word you speak it from the position of possession. Every thought you think it from the state of fulfillment. This is not pretending. This is not fake it till you make it. This is occupying a state of consciousness and refusing to vacate that state regardless of what your senses report. Your senses will tell you that you do not have your desire. They will present evidence. They will remind you of your current circumstances. But you must remain loyal to your assumption, not to your senses. The senses report the past. Your assumption creates the future. If you let the senses dictate your assumption, you will continue creating more of the same past. But if you maintain your assumption despite the senses, you will create a new future. I remember teaching this to a woman who had been trying to manifest a specific house for over a year. She had done every technique. She had visualized, affirmed, created vision boards. Nothing had worked. I said to her, stop trying to manifest the house. Assume you already live in it. But I don't live in it, she protested. How can I assume something that isn't true? It is true in consciousness, I replied. And consciousness is the only reality that matters. The physical world is simply consciousness made visible. Change your consciousness, and the physical must follow. I taught her to stop all techniques, all efforts to manifest. Instead, she was to live in the assumption that she already owned and lived in the house. When she thought about home, she thought of that house. When she made decisions, she made them as someone who lived there. When she imagined her future, she saw herself in that house as a simple, natural fact. Within 6 weeks, a series of unexpected circumstances made the house available to her at a price she could afford. But notice, she did not manifest it through effort. She assumed it, and reality conformed to her assumption. Here is something beautiful that happens when you stop trying to manifest and start assuming. You finally rest. Manifesting is exhausting. It requires constant effort, constant vigilance, constant doing. You must visualize every day. You must affirm. You must do techniques. You must monitor your thoughts. You must check for signs. It is a full-time job of trying to bring something into being. But assumption is rest. When you truly assume something is already yours, you can relax. You can stop striving. You can cease all the frantic doing. Think about it. If you truly owned a beautiful home, would you spend your days visualizing it, affirming it, trying to manifest it? No. You would simply live in it. You would take it for granted as a natural part of your life. This is the rest I speak of. the rest that comes from accepting your desire as already fulfilled in consciousness. This does not mean you become passive or stop taking action in the world. It means your actions come from the state of already having, not from the desperate need to make something happen. Actions that come from assumption are inspired, natural, effortless. They feel right. They energize you. They align with your desire because they flow from the consciousness of already possessing it. But actions that come from trying to manifest are forced, anxious, desperate. They drain you. They push against reality rather than flowing with it. Let me give you the ultimate test to know whether you are assuming or merely trying to manifest. When you think about your desire, does it feel natural or does it feel like something you are trying to create? If it feels natural, ordinary, simple, a given fact of your life, then you are assuming. If it feels exciting, important, something you are working toward, then you are still in the state of manifesting, of trying to bring it to you. The goal is naturalness, the feeling of course I have this, the sense that it would be strange not to have it. When you reach this state of naturalness about your desire, manifestation is no longer a question. It is not a matter of if, but simply a matter of time for the physical world to catch up with the reality already established in consciousness. A man came to me who wanted a particular job. He had been trying to manifest it for months. He visualized the interview, the offer letter, the celebration, but nothing happened. I asked him, when you imagine having this job, how does it feel? He said, it feels exciting, it feels amazing, like all my dreams coming true. There is your problem, I told him. You are still in the state of wanting it, of being excited about getting it. You need to reach the state where having this job feels completely normal, natural, expected. I taught him to imagine not the moment of getting the job, but a moment 6 months after having the job. An ordinary Tuesday at work. Nothing special. Just him doing his job, it being completely normal. When he could feel that naturalness. When the job felt as ordinary as his current situation, that is when it manifested. Within 2 weeks, he had the offer. Now you may be wondering, if I stop trying to manifest, what happens to all the techniques I have learned? The visualization, the affirmations, the scripting, the gratitude practices. Here is the truth. Techniques are tools to help you occupy a state. They are not the goal. They are the means. If visualization helps you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, then use it. But use it to enter the state, not to create the manifestation. Once you have assumed the state, once you feel the naturalness of having, you can stop the technique. If affirmations help you maintain your assumption throughout the day, then use them. But understand that you are not using them to manifest. You are using them to remind yourself of what you have already assumed to be true. The technique is the ladder. The assumption is the roof. Once you have climbed to the roof, you no longer need the ladder. Do not spend your life on the ladder, climbing up and down. Stand on the roof. Live in the state. Many people become addicted to techniques. They feel they must visualize every day or their desire will not manifest. They feel they must affirm constantly or they will lose their manifestation. This is still the consciousness of manifesting, of trying to make something happen. When you assume, you can let go of the techniques. You can rest in the knowledge that it is already done in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality that creates. Let me share with you the ultimate secret. The truth that underlies everything I teach. You are not manifesting anything. You have never manifested anything, and you will never manifest anything. Manifestation implies creating something new, bringing something into existence that was not there before. But this is impossible. Everything already exists. All possibilities, all outcomes, all realities exist right now in consciousness. You are not creating. You are selecting. You are not manifesting. You are assuming. When you assume a state, you are not bringing that state into existence. You are selecting which already existing state you will experience. You are choosing which channel to tune into, which reality to occupy. The wealthy version of you already exists. The loved version of you already exists. The successful, healthy, fulfilled version of you already exists, right now in consciousness. Your job is not to create this version. Your job is to assume it, to occupy it, to be it. And when you occupy a state fully, when you assume it completely, the physical world must reflect that state, because the physical world is simply consciousness made visible. This is why I tell you to stop manifesting, because manifesting implies effort to create. But you are not creating. You are simply choosing which of the infinite already created possibilities you will experience. Tonight I want you to make a shift. A simple shift that will change everything. Stop trying to manifest your desires. Stop doing techniques to bring them to you. Stop working to make them real. Instead, assume they are already real. Assume they are already yours. Assume you already are who you want to be. And then live from that assumption. Think from it, speak from it, feel from it, decide from it. When you wake up tomorrow, do not ask, what can I do today to manifest my desire? Ask instead, who am I today? What is already true about me? And the answer is, I am the person who already has my desire. It is already mine. I already am who I wanted to be. Then go about your day from that state, not seeking, not trying, not manifesting, but being, having, living as the person who already has what they desire. This is not wishful thinking. This is not denial of reality. This is understanding that consciousness is the only reality. And whatever state you assume in consciousness must manifest in experience. Stop manifesting. Start assuming. This is the secret. This is the way. This is the only thing you need to do. Assume your desire is already fulfilled. Occupy that state. Refuse to vacate it. And watch as the entire world rearranges itself to confirm what you have assumed to be true. You are not the manifester. You are the assumer. You are not creating reality. You are selecting which reality to experience by the state you choose to occupy. Choose now. Assume now. Be now who you wish to be. Have now what you wish to have. And rest in the knowledge that in consciousness, where all creation takes place, it is already done. Thank you. And good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.